Oh man, I haven't listened to that song in a while.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Check Service Industry Podcast. I am Reyshan Parker, and if you have not had a chance yet, please go watch my television series Beyond the Check Worker Owner Edition, now streaming on Amazon Prime and Fox's Tubi TV. Fox's Tubi TV, it's free TV. Sure, there's commercials, but it's free. I have a fantastic guest today. He is a health coach and integrative health practitioner that helps his clients get to the root cause of their issues, whether it's weight loss, gut health, or even something more serious like autoimmune conditions, so that they can start living the best version of themselves. He's also the host of the Hacked Life podcast, where he gets a chance to sit down with some leading health experts in the world. And his motto is live healthy, live happy. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Evan. What's up, Joel?
Let's go. What's up, Reyshan? How are you?
I'm good, buddy.
Great to be here, man.
Thanks for being here. Where are you right now?
I am in Nampa, Idaho. So I grew up in California. Last 10 years I was in San Francisco, but I think the pandemic really brought light to a lot of things, and people moved and looked for different. I think it brought a light to a lot of things, and so now in the last year we've been in Idaho, so it's beautiful.
Idaho, yeah. We're starting to get fall here. I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and it's about, our fall is, we're at 80. We've gotten to 80 degrees. What's the fall in Idaho like?
Yeah, we're starting to. You know what? Well, the thing that's neat is we get all four seasons. California, the weather. I was out there recently, and I was like, "This is why people come here, because it's always you pay for that sunshine tax." But the weather, it's really nice. It's this is my window right out here to the side of me. If you're watching on video, and it's really nice. I don't know if it's 80. It's definitely a little bit cooler, but the sun's out and the temperatures have dropped, so it is getting a little bit cooler.
Yeah,
but
see,
nice.
people think California is so great because it's sunny all the time, but what happens if you actually like rain and thunderstorms? You're SOL. That's what you are.
You need to go somewhere else, that's for sure.
Yeah, so anyway,
you better go somewhere else because you're not going to get it.
You're helping people live happy, or live healthy and live happy from Idaho, and as well as on your podcast, The Hacked Life. How are we hacking life?
Yeah, good question, man. I mean, so when I came up with the name of that podcast, 3 years ago, it was really because I was just into the world of biohacking. And when I say the word biohacking, a lot of people think, oh, if they're not familiar with that term, they think it's like I'm talking about transhumanism or something like that, which I'm not. But
so you're not talking about CRISPR.
Dave Asprey, who's like, no, I'm definitely not talking about CRISPR.
Copy that.
which I get a lot of, and the term has become like a dream, but really it got coined by Dave Asprey, who was originally a computer hacker, who then turned into I don't want to say a health guru, but I mean, that's maybe the easiest way to describe him. He became fascinated. He was ill, became fascinated with health. All these functional medicine doctors, he figured out ways of like, how do I hack my biology to be an optimal human being? And so he got his health back, started talking about it. He had a podcast, he had a blog.
Uh-oh. Something's gone crazy.
Health journey many years ago. I've always been into health and fitness, but really getting deep into like natural health. And when I started getting down that pathway, I'd never heard of some of the things like, for example, Asprey and some of these other health practitioners were talking about. They were talking about doing like ozone therapy and just some crazy stuff. And they were getting people better. And I'm thinking like, wow, when we're talking about like using ozone therapy to get people better from Lyme disease, mold, cancer, things like that, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how do other people not know about this? And so
I
started
ozone
going down the rabbit
therapy?
hole, and that's where so ozone is a molecule. So ozone is, you have oxygen is O2, ozone is O3. Okay, so it is very unstable. but it is, but it's it can be very useful for destroying. I mean, it destroys. You want to talk about like bacteria, or people will use ozone to like wash their fruit at lower levels. They will use it to. I mean, you can drink it. You can make ozone water and drink it, and the most popular or the easiest way from an at-home administration is you can do it rectally. And so that is probably the most, that's like during the pandemic, this was a big thing that some of the biohackers and the biohacking community were talking about, because it destroyed things like IL-6 and IL-8, which were very present like cytokines during the pandemic. So if you want something for immune modulation, better microcirculation, better oxygenation in the body, ozone therapy is a very popular one. And if you're going to see a practitioner, the best way you can get ozone is actually doing it intravenously. And so they will do it in your blood. They'll circulate it, and then they'll push it back into your body. And so you get this ozonated blood. And a lot of Lyme patients have seen a lot of success with that. So you'll see people doing that, mold and Lyme.
Huh. Okay, yeah. I've completely learned something 100% new today.
You didn't know we were going to go there today.
I know nothing about ozone therapy. Where do we get the ozone from? Let's start there.
Yeah, so ozone, here's the thing that's funny, right? Like a lot of these modalities, you can find them in Europe or in Germany. They're way more popular. But here, you don't see a lot of these things. And why? Because they're pushed out because of big pharma and the media. You won't even know about them. Now, where can you get them? Well, you can go to clinics. If you type in, like ozone practitioners or clinics in your area, Google it, you might be able to find some, right? Some cutting edge, some functional medicine docs will do that for you. Now, really, I mean, you can do a lot of ozone safe in your own household. The only thing, like I said, if you would need for an ozone doctor would be someone to do the IV ozone, right? Because they gotta do the injection. But other than that, I mean, go ahead.
Can I order ozone off of Amazon?
Probably, but here's what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so probably I'm gonna tell you why. Because here's what you need. You really need two things. You need a converter or a generator, an ozone generator, and they go for about like $1,000, $1,000 to $3,000, depending which brand or what you're looking at. Okay, so you need an oxygen tank. So you just need an oxygen tank to feed into the ozone generator to convert it to O3. That's all you need. I have one at my house. I love it. And, in those rare circumstances, I can use it. I want to tell you something about ozone too, really quick, that I think you'll find fascinating, because I know I'm kind of blowing your mind. You're like, why would this is crazy. Like, why would I get ozone, right? But I want to bring it home to you, because it'll make more sense for your listeners and even you when you kind of hear this story. So my son, when he was about 2 years old or something, I have two boys, 8 and 5. Now, my oldest, when he was about 2 years old, he was still breastfed. He ate a very healthy diet, maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly. And we were doing everything really, I think, right as parents, but we weren't brushing his teeth. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I don't think we thought like you had to reach that age where like, oh, you have to like really brush that much. He doesn't really need it.
They're baby teeth. They're going to fall out anyway.
They're baby teeth. Like we're going to get to the whole brushing thing, but he doesn't even really need a brush. He's not,
He's got like 3 teeth. Like, what do you do?
That's I think what we were thinking. So here's the holistic health coach telling you he doesn't brush his kids' teeth. So we go to the dentist in downtown San Francisco, just some run-of-the-mill dentist, and the dentist looks at my kids' teeth. We're not expecting this, by the way. Our son never complains or anything. And the dentist looks at him and looks at us very like sternly, goes, he has 7 cavities. We're going to need to operate and pull out all his teeth. You have 2 choices. One is we can pull them all out like today or whatever, or we can set up an appointment and pull out all 7, but we're going to have to put him under. Or we can do like 4 and then 3. She's like, I recommend doing all 7 because, it's traumatic for the kids and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, we are definitely not doing that. I'm not putting my kid out with using gas. I'm like, no. And so I had already known, because I'm plugged into this community. And I go, no. There's what they call biological dentists. And I'm like, I've heard of these biological dentists restoring teeth. even cavities and stuff like that. This is not my first line of approach. So I Google biological dentists in our area, find one. We go to this dentist, completely the opposite. The dentist looks at my son's teeth and goes, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I see his cavities. I don't see why we can't save all these teeth. He's like, there's only one that I'm a little concerned about because it might be too deep down to the root. That'd be the only one I'd think about. He's like, get an x-ray. Let me see the x-ray to see how deep it is. But other than that, I don't see why we can't save all of them. So sure enough, I get the x-ray. Yeah. So I get the x-ray done. He looks at it. He goes, we're good. It's not deep enough. I can save all these teeth. What did we use to save and rebuild my kid's teeth that he never got them removed? All 7. Ozone. So in doctor's offices, especially biological doctors, dentists, they will use ozone very frequently. Why? Because what I just told, it kills everything. It's super reactive, so it can kill everything. I mean, they've used ozone for things like Ebola. I mean, this thing, it wipes out like everything, right? So killing the bacteria, it can heal the gums. So they would use a dental appliance around my kid's teeth, do the ozone, and then I would go back now listen, this was more aggressive because I wanted to rebuild his teeth, but I was going back every like 5 to 6 weeks. Normally they would just do ozone every checkup or whatever, right? Do ozone, do some minerals. But for me,
even that doesn't seem that bad to get rid of cavities without saving your teeth. Like every 6 weeks.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
That's not bad at all. I thought you were going to be like, we went like twice a day for like 2 months.
No, the only bad thing, it was a bit of a commute. So that was why I was like, okay, for every 6 weeks, like, oh, we got to drive out of town to do this. But it was worth it. Like you said, I'm like, hey, if that's what you're telling me I got to do to save his teeth, like, no problem. So, we did ozone, and then we rebuilt the teeth using minerals. And so minerals are very powerful for rebuilding teeth and rebuilding the actual like structure and the enamel and everything. So that's what we did.
How are the minerals given? Or administered?
I mean, it depends. You could do it like in dropper form. They have like a clay almost made out of it, and they just kind of wipe it, and then they just put it around your teeth.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, if I would have talked to you like 2 years ago. Boy.
Well, now you know, brother. And now you can go look and Google your area biological dentist, and you can call them and you can find out, hey, do you guys use ozone? Because now that I've moved to Idaho, like, I'm on that same path looking around for dentists, and some of them, it's just different than it was when I was in California. Some of them, they will use ozone, but not all the time. And I'm like, why not? I want to use it all the time. Like, I know what it does. Like, or we don't use it on kids, unless certain circumstances. So everybody's different. You got to kind of find out. But yeah, they're out there and they're doing a good job.
Well, hot damn, sir. So all of his teeth completely regenerated.
Totally. Never had a teeth pulled.
Wow. So eventually, I don't know how long ago this was, but eventually his adult teeth did come in and those baby teeth fell out. And
yeah, he's 8 now, so not all of his teeth have fallen out, but that was probably when he was 3, so that was like 5 years ago. So yeah, some of those teeth have fallen out, and some of them haven't. And
now you all on a regular, probably at your checkups, get ozone on your teeth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah.
I mean, could we make an ozone pick at home, like with making the ozone, and then just like run the gas to like a water pick?
Yeah, so they make dental appliances. So here's the thing. Again, you buy the ozone generator. I have what's called a Simply O3 ozone generator. There's 3 big brands out there. There's Simply O3, Promo Life, and Longevity. All great brands. I went with Simply O3. I got a chance to talk to the owner. He was actually on my podcast. Unbeknownst, he didn't know this, but I had bought the ozone generator 2 years ago, and then we ended up connecting randomly, and he was on my podcast, and I was like, I have your thing. But here's why I really liked him. The education was good, and they're all really good, but like his generator for what I was getting was like $1,000. Some of the other ones were close to 3,000. And really what my research reflected to me, in my opinion, was they're just that price because they're like a brand name, like buying Nike. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to pay that. If it's all the same, like, let's just go with that brand. So I have a Simply O3, about $1,000 or so, comes with a like whole kit and stuff. And then I ended up buying, and then on their website, he has other kits, or you can go to other websites and buy. You just look for like a dental. I forget what I typed in. Dental, ozone
pick.
Like
Yeah.
yeah. You just attach it on, and then you just highlight. You just go around your teeth. You set the ozone setting you want. It's actually very straightforward. It's not a lot of tubes, or it's not a lot of the growth curve to figure out how to use the machine. It's not that complicated. The big thing with ozone you need to remember is you can't inhale it. Okay, your lungs don't do well with ozone. It will burn. So you don't want to breathe ozone, but otherwise you can pretty much administer it any other way and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow. Who knew? So traditionally, I always thought of ozone as like air cleansers, right?
Everybody thinks that, yeah. Or they think of the ozone hole.
Yeah. Or the thing that keeps our planet temperate.
Right.
But no. So just all around ozone treatment, just to keep the body at prime functioning condition, huh?
Yeah, I think it's probably, other than a sauna, if you're asking me like, hey, what is like the most bang for your buck kind of hacks or systems? I mean, ozone is just one of the, I think, overall greatest tools you can have in your arsenal in terms of wellness or immunity. And again, like when the pandemic was hitting, right, there was a lot of fear going around the world. Everyone's scared. Like, imagine too, I have friends that moved into like, they moved out of the suburbs where, they have access to maybe a hospital to get to pretty quickly, to like the Ozarks where they're in the middle of nowhere, right? So it's like, imagine if you're in that middle of nowhere and you want just a general tool to kind of protect your family. I think it's just a overall great wellness tool. And like I said, there's so many applications. You can bubble it in water and you can drink it, good for the gut. You can swish it around your teeth. You can use it on your teeth like we talked about. You can do it rectally, obviously. The other thing you can do is called ozone bagging. So imagine you have like a nasty wound or something. So you could actually fill up a bag and put a plastic bag. Basically, it's another accessory, put it around your hand or a limb, and then fill that bag up with ozone, and it's going to clean that whole area, right? So imagine if you had like some kind of toe fungus or whatever. I mean, so again, the applications are so numerous. It's a really great tool, and after you buy the tank, the ozone tank, it's pretty, an ozone tank. Here's the big thing that people get into: do I need medical grade oxygen? You can, but if you talk to any ozone expert, they'll tell you the difference in purity from medical grade oxygen is 100% pure grade oxygen, but you need a doctor's prescription to get it. So sometimes that can be complicated unless you have a really cool doctor to get that for you. Otherwise, you just simply go to the welder shop and have them give you the 98% oxygen
for welding.
and it works just as great. They can't tell you that, but it works just as great. And so after you buy a tank, which is like $100, refills are like $40. So then after that, you're just paying $40 for refills, and they last a long time.
So are we talking the future back to tank here? Is that potentially where we could go with this?
What's that? Say it again.
A back to tank, Star Wars, right?
Oh, I don't even know. Okay, I don't even know that reference. My kids are super. I was never huge into Star Wars. I've seen like the top, the first three and a couple of the other ones, and now my boys are really into it, so I'm reading all the books to them. But I'll give you
the quick gist of it. So if you saw like Luke floating in like the tank, right, has the face mask on, right, because the oxygen's there, but he's in this tank, basically a healing liquid, right? And so essentially a back to tank will cure pretty much anything that ails you. You just put yourself in the back to tank. It it keeps you young. It rejuvenates everything. Darth Vader has to go into his back to tank because obviously he's all fucked up.
Yep.
Right, but I could see. So that's what a back to tank is in a Star Wars reference. And what I'm looking at here is, if you can't inhale it, right? So you'd wear a face mask with the with the oxygen, and you could go into basically a tank of, not a liquid tank, possibly a liquid tank, right? And CO3 or O3 yourself.
Yeah, O3 yourself. So, a couple of things. One is I would say what you're thinking about, I would think about hyperbaric oxygen. I think that would be more like an oxygenated tank, and that would be a great. And that's been shown as far as anti-aging. There was a recent study that has been shown to be very, very effective in terms of like aging backwards. So I would be thinking of that. Now, however, there are ozone saunas, believe it or not. So you can sit in this sauna contraption device, and then it encloses and your head is outside of it, and then it steams you with ozone. And so the idea, again, is that the steam heats up your body. The ozone then can perforate into the skin and into those capillaries and then even into the body. Yeah. And it's a whole body kind of system. And I will say, there's a great motivational speaker guy, I guess you could say. His name's Hal Elrod, and he wrote the book The Miracle Morning, which was a bestseller, very popular. And Hal got cancer, and I don't remember, this is probably about 3 years ago. Hal got this very rare form of cancer, and essentially it's a really bad one. And it's one of those ones where the doctors just tell you, like, if you get this, like, you're 70% chance, you're done. Like, you're done. Sorry. Yeah. And don't ask us for a cure. There isn't one compared to other cancers, right? And so he's like, crap, I don't know what to do. But if you know anything about him, his attitude is like, I'm not a quitter. Like, I'll always find a way to win. But of course, you get hit with that news. Like, that's pretty tough. And so he goes on this journey, man. And one of the things that he credits was this ozone sauna. And this one specifically is called a Holcat, HOLCATT. And that's exactly the one I'm talking about. So that would probably be, I'd say, your aging backwards kind of tool. But otherwise, you'd start looking into like hyperbaric, which has been shown to be very effective in terms of. And
that worked for him, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like cancer-free.
Cancer-free.
Completely remished.
Yep. He's still here today. Yeah.
Well, no wonder I didn't know about this, because why would the health industry ever want you to know?
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't want you to live. I mean, they don't want you to beat cancer without like pharmaceuticals or chemo or radiation
or spending $1 billion trying to save your life. Yeah,
right.
Of course not. So wow. Okay. So there was another. Oh, I'm curious about a thing, and I bet you know. So water, right? Just the water that we drink on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Not good for us, right? You drink tap, not good for you. Pure distilled water has no minerals or vitamins in it. I reverse osmosis my water, which I hear strips your body of the elements that you need in it, because water likes to be full of elements, right?
Yeah.
And when it's not, it will find a way to get them. So if you drink just purely stripped down water, it's going to steal it from your body.
Yeah.
So what the hell do we do to drink good water?
Reyshan, I got to tell you, you're talking to the right guy. So water is something I'm very passionate about, and I've geeked out on just the last year myself. And I've interviewed, at least 3 experts or some on this very topic. And so first of all, I want to talk to you about what you just said, the whole stripping of minerals. So if I have a distilled water, that's what I decided when we moved. I was going through the rabbit hole. Do I want to go reverse osmosis? What am I going to do? And I went distilled water. So by the way, does distilled water strip your body full of minerals? Complete myth. Okay. So here's the deal.
What about the reverse osmosis?
Reverse osmosis, I think you're getting, is there a little bit of minerals left over? I'm not too sure.
I'm pretty sure it takes out the fluoride. There's nothing left in the water. And so, you need to sit it in rocks for a while before you drink it, right?
Yeah. So here's the deal. Okay. So I'm going to answer your question. We're going to go a little bit deep on here. So, okay. The term, first of all, we need to think about this. Everyone is worried about distilled water or reverse osmosis. You're not getting the minerals. Now, first of all, that's just BS. And I'm going to tell you why and tell your listeners, because we should be getting our minerals from food. No one is going, and this is the like, whoa, like it kind of, you have to actually think about it. Believe me, I fell down this rabbit hole too of like, oh, hey, well, what about the minerals? What about the minerals? But think about it. How many minerals are you really getting from your water? I mean, legitimately, like how much? Like you're not. Well,
like depends on the water, right? Like if we had real spring water, like I grew up with a spring, like we literally still had fresh spring water, right? Which was alive water, which was delicious water. right? And
Yeah.
then they plowed the entire thing down and put up a bunch of fucking houses on where the spring used to be, right? Like it's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. There's very few that still do in America, unless you're in super rural mountain areas, right?
Yeah. So you're 100% right. And so on that note, so there's two different aspects here. So like just the minerals though alone, you're not really getting no one's like, oh man, I hope I get my mineral intake from the water I drink. Like it's just not happening. You're getting it from the plants you eat and you're getting it from the food that you consume. Like that's just the bottom line. So everyone needs to just stop worrying about like, will I get minerals from water? Who cares? Like get it from your food because that's where you're going to get the most of it. So that's number one. Then number two, you bring up a great point about the whole structuring of water, right? The whole charge. There is, and I interviewed an expert, Jonathan Butts from Natural Action Water, who makes an actual system that basically creates that structure, that vortex, that live water. Water is life. Water, the water here in Idaho and the water out, you said you're in Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is life, there is DNA to that water. It's a living organism. And so the DNA out there is going to be different than in Australia or anywhere else. And I might vibrate with the water source out here that's different because it does have life. And there is something to be said for that. The problem is like, how do you get a clean source? That's the hardest part. If you want to do something like what Jonathan does, and he does it for people's homes, I think that is a really good solution. He has a purification system in there. It's not distilled, but it's a really good one. And then he does his best to basically recreate that life water in your house. So I think that's a great solution. Now, the last thing I want to just tell everybody, all your listeners, is that if you go to the Environmental Protection Agency's website, the EPA, right? They're supposed to protect us. Well, they will let you know that right now they will tell you on their website. You go to their homepage, they will tell you.
No, I just saw it the other day. I just saw it the other day. Go on.
Yeah. We're being bombarded by 86,000 man-made chemicals yearly, guys. And I know a lot of the practitioners, the functional medicine docs that I'm surrounded with, they do a lot of muscle testing and they'll do a lot of energy work. And what comes up over and over again from sick patients and autoimmune clients is toxicity in their water. Things like radioactive elements, not just heavy metals, radioactive elements, things like uranium and some of the other things that you wouldn't be thinking about. And it continues to be a roadblock in there's people's health. When they switch them to distilled water, guess what? All the other things that they were doing, all of a sudden now, the symphony, the synergy, the work that the practitioners were using just seems to work now. So it's really amazing when they switch to like a clean water source, what's able to happen. So I just want everybody to kind of understand that. And if you think about it, why did I go with distilled? Because there's no other way. There's no other system out there that can actually guarantee like everything's removed. Reverse osmosis, I think, is like your second best, but even reverse osmosis will say like, hey, we remove like these top 9 things. Well, what about the other 80,000, right? So that's kind of where I'm at.
So you distilling it does remove even those radioactive tiny particled elements that. What about even the plastics, like our tiny microplastics that are currently all of it, huh?
Yeah.
So distilled system for the home. I mean, are you boiling your water and recapturing it, or
no? There's a great American-made company out here out of Nebraska called My Pure Water. I connected with these folks. They make some great systems. That's what I went with. And if any of your users want it, I have a small discount. I think if you use my name, Joel Evan, they'll give you they don't give big discounts. So like that's the biggest one you're going to get. I think it's like 10 or 5% off a whole system. But that's what I have in my home. That's what I'm using. And it makes it nice because I have a family of 4. So it makes, I think, 12 gallons of distilled water daily.
I mean, that's plenty.
Yeah.
and it tastes delicious, and you're not trying to, you don't feel the need to like, put it over rocks and let it sit and hang out for
Well, I am a biohacker, so I do have there's this device I have called a Somavedic, which is like kind of an EMF like blocking device, and it will structure and charge your water. So what I do is I fill up a couple of jars of the water in the morning, and then I put it next to the Somavedic, and in 15 minutes, the Somavedic basically structures and charges the water. So that's what I do. If I had known my good friend Jonathan and his company, I would have probably gone with something like that. But I already have some of it. I already had some of these tools before, so that's what I use to kind of give it that charge.
Awesome, man.
And then here's the thing: I do add minerals to my water occasionally, and not because I'm feeling like I'm in the need of that the water, and I'm not doing it because man, I feel like I need more minerals because I'm not getting it from the water. It's more that I'm so bullish on fulvic minerals, and that's something that I add into my world because of what it does for just general detox, charge, ATP, and other stuff with the gut. So that's why I'm adding that to my into my repertoire. But
what is that? So let's explain. What are you putting in your water, and where do I get it?
Yeah. Okay, good. So a couple of things. So yeah, I'm adding fulvic minerals. Okay. And so fulvic minerals, it comes, there's, they are derived from the soil, basically from earth, but they're like in a really absorbable form, and they're very different than just some of like the run-of-the-mill minerals that you might get, right? And so I get it. There's a couple different brands. I was gonna say a holistic health practitioner, which you know that, but I work for I work with some functional medicine brands, and so there's a brand called Cellcore, but you could only get Cellcore if you're working with like a practitioner like myself, and I could give you a practitioner code and get you. That's a really, really high quality fulvic mineral. There's another great brand though that I like called Beam Minerals, and I interviewed actually Carolyn Allen from that company. She's an amazing soul who she created her company really based on the fact that she healed herself by just adding fulvic minerals. She's like, oh my God, she had inflammation in the mouth. Speaking of minerals, right? We were talking about with my son. She had inflammation in her mouth and a whole bunch of other issues, gut issues. And all she added into the only thing she added was fulvic minerals. And she got a huge effect and like totally brought back her health. So she decided to create a company around that, and she's got a great story, and she could talk to you even more about it. But
I might have to look her up.
Yeah, no, she's really, really good. But
Beam Minerals.
Beam is the name of her company, and that's an easy way to get some fulvic minerals in your life. And so I'm a very big believer in it because, like I said, for three big reasons. One is it can help with candida yeast overgrowth, and a lot of people have gut issues, and too much yeast in the gut can cause a whole bunch of issues. So that's number one. It can help kill that and at least suppress it. The other thing it does is it helps create ATP. It helps create that energy. So that's another one. And then also, we are bombarded by this thing known as glyphosate, Roundup. Right? A lot of people know
everywhere.
It's everywhere, right? Here I am in Idaho near farms, and people I'm sure are spraying all over the place to kill the weeds.
Not anymore. They're not.
Well,
well, they better not be because that lawsuit ain't over, and they are losing terribly.
Yeah, they are losing terrible. But I think if I remember correctly, the commercial use has to cease by like 2023. So they have some time. I could be wrong.
Yeah, let's give them some more time. Let's give them a little more time to poison some people just for funsies. I mean, they've already been doing it for 70 years. What's another year going to do?
Yeah, exactly. So, but fulvic minerals actually help pull out glyphosate from the body. And the bottom line is glyphosate, the more research I've done on that and the more I've learned about it, it is so harmful to just your gut, to the connective matrix, your connective tissue in your body. There's a lot of good studies showing the correlation of the introduction of glyphosate and autism. So, which I think would go back to the leaky gut issue that we're experiencing. It is just terrible for you. And so fulvic minerals can actually help with that. So to me, it's just like a no-brainer. Like to me, like that's a multivitamin that I'd be taking daily
every
for
day.
Just those reasons. Yeah, man.
I'm ordering some as soon as we're done.
Do it. I
got to put something in my reverse osmosis water, so I might as well put that in. My dog actually suffers from allergies from the gut bacteria, right? And so a good thing to even possibly put into your pet's water if they have allergies.
So check this out. I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I've gotten clients better, multiple, by just adding fulvic minerals into their diet through what we're talking about, these liquids, I've seen clients reverse their asthma. Now I did some other things too, but when we even removed the other things, the only thing that was like still the staple was the fulvic minerals. I had a client who had the C virus. I'm very careful about saying that because I know of the censorship and just what it does. So I'm just going to refer to it as the C virus. So he had the C virus. We were working on some other things, and unbeknownst to me, he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know my asthma's gone." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I didn't even have asthma." He goes, "Yeah, man." And he goes, "Matter of fact, when I had the C virus, it was really bad. I was, and I go, oh, okay. I go, well, how many times would you use your inhaler like a day? Like, cause I've never seen him. I knew him as a friend, and I'm like, I never even saw him use an inhaler. So I didn't know he had it." He goes, "Oh, I'd use it like 5 to 6 times a day." And I go, "Now you don't use it at any time?" He goes, "Nope." I'm like, wow. So,
Wow.
Then he then he check this out. Then he contracted the C virus a second time.
Yeah.
And it happens, and didn't use his inhaler once. So yeah, man, the fulvic minerals are a big thing. If you go to the Beam Minerals too, she gave me a discount, Joel Evan. If you use that and check out, I think you get like 20% out. So
definitely check that out, because water's I asked about water because it's one of the it's you can't live without it, right? And if you're drinking the bad stuff, it's not that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, no, and water is a big one, and I don't think we don't put a lot of emphasis on it, right? I mean, and so
everyone always wants to talk about health or diet or what is the best diet, and whatever. What do you like to eat? Just eat that. Yeah. Don't eat too much bad stuff, right? But try to keep a balanced diet that you logically can see as a balanced diet.
Yeah, water's a really big one, and I'm glad you brought it up because, when you start doing, and again, when the functional medicine doctors that I'm surrounded with, and what we're just seeing in the clinics and the patients that are coming through, water and the radioactive elements continues to come up, and pesticides too. That's another one that just everyone's testing for regularly, and so it kept coming up over and over again. And when they transitioned people to distilled water, it was amazing how just that one little switch, because they were doing all the other detox things correctly, but just doing that one thing made was a big game changer for them. So it is. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, because a lot of those detox things, the sauna, you're sweating out the bad stuff, right? And you have to replenish. And if you're replenishing with bad stuff, that's again kind of defeats the purpose, right? So yeah, water, lifeblood. You can't live without it, and you need the best you can get. Or at least not the poison,
Right. At least less poison. That's what we're aiming for.
Right. And bottled waters, you can't trust any of them, right? So
yeah, and I mean, and that goes back to the interview I did with Jonathan Butts. Bottled water is dead water. Like he said, it sits, it's sterilized, it is lifeless. It's just sitting in a plastic bottle. And then absorbing plastic. So yeah, I mean, hey, we all do the best we can when we're traveling, we're on the road, but it's just something to think about, at least be more aware of.
You have any other little tricks or things about just daily life? Something you can change just every day that, like,
oh boy,
toothpaste. Right? Like, why don't the mineral toothpaste, ozone toothpaste? Is that a thing? That should be a thing.
Yeah, it actually is a thing. I've gone down the rabbit hole on toothpaste too. So I mean, I got a couple of brands. One of the brands that I'm with right now, I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I personally do for my own teeth. I do floss. There is some argument whether you should floss or not. Now, again, you want to talk about good flosses. There's a really good floss. Dr. Tungs, Tungs, is the best floss I've ever found. It's like a clean floss, and it's actually like thick enough to like do the job. The Glide floss is just complete crap. So I do that. And then I like to, right now I'm using a tooth. I work with, doTERRA, the essential oil company. So I have a wholesale account. And so I use their toothpaste, which has the minerals and oils in it already. But before that, I was using, there's a really good brand out there called Primal Life Organics. She does a good job. She makes some good mineral-based toothpaste that we're talking about. And then when I'm done, I like to use, she makes an essential oil too that you can like put on as a gum serum, and I'll just kind of put around my gums. I've done that for years and haven't, ever since I switched to that kind of transition into that, I've never gotten a cavity or anything.
You have a beautiful smile, sir. Those are some beautiful pearly whites, so it's obviously working.
Thank you. Yeah, and I drink a lot of coffee, so so good.
Yeah. My mom was an herbalist, so as a child, like we had all the like the herbal toothpastes and that were just, as a kid you're like, what? I think she even had a Murphy's oil like toothpaste kind of formula thing when we were kids. And but you go to grandma and grandpa's and you brush with Crest and you're like, oh, that's candy. Right. So
yes. That's how I grew up. That's how I grew up on the Crest candy stuff, man. It's been an evolution for me, for sure, and like now I'm like so dialed in, but like it wasn't always that way. Like every year and every couple months you start to like pick up new things. Like here, you and I are just, you're interviewing me and we're just picking up new things and adding to, and then you go interview somebody else, you talk to somebody else, and every year you just kind of stack up and then you build up that kit, right? You build up that arsenal. Yeah.
All right. What are you eating real quick? What's your diet like?
Yeah. So, for me, I am, I'm kind of getting out of the whole fasting thing. I was doing a lot of intermittent fasting in the past, and I'm kind of shying away from that as much. I do believe everybody should at least fast for at least 12 hours. I think that's a no-brainer, and that's just given. Everybody should be able to do that. Man, I do that at least. Usually,
I feel like that's an everyday thing. I would, if you're going to bed 2 hours before you go to sleep, you don't eat till 2 hours after you're awake, and you sleep for 8 hours. You've done it.
It's super simple. It's a no-brainer, and I feel, but I like to remind people like 12 hours, like everybody should be hitting that. Like that's a no-brainer. Like let's make sure we do that. So I do that, and then I have my coffee in the morning, black, and then what I like to do is usually some kind of like smoothie in the mornings. The reason being is, again, I'm a big coffee drinker, so I like to really rehydrate my body in the morning, especially we're dehydrated, right? You've been sleeping for 8 hours. I like to get hydrated. I like to get those minerals. So I use like a multivitamin kind of nutritional powder. I might throw in like a half cup of organic blueberries, some cinnamon. I have this gut powder that I'm kind of using in that. I'll throw some ginger in there and 20 to 30 ounces of water, and I just blend it all up. And I throw probably a little bit of olive oil too. I'll splash a little olive oil for fat. And that's my breakfast in the morning. And I do that pretty much every morning.
See, in Italy, a shot of olive oil a day will keep the doctor away. So
hey, the Italians, they know what they're talking about. There's some really cool stuff, it's funny. The Italians keep coming up. People are telling on my podcast, they're like, you keep talking about the Italians, because there was a couple studies recently with Italian cyclists, and then also just Italians and their obesity. They have none. Like the obesity epidemic in Italy is like 7%.
And they are eating all the carbs, guys.
They're eating all the
carbs.
And that was the big point in this chapter in this book, was he was talking about how is this possible? The Italians are eating all the pasta, pork fat, butter, how are they possibly staying thin when, if you look at the same macronutrient profile an Italian eats in northern Italy and that of a southerner in your neck of the woods, when you're looking at pork, sweet tea, it's like the same macronutrients. So what is the big difference? Why are people in Italy so thin and southerners in the United States aren't? One is the processing. That's a huge part of it.
I'm pretty sure there's no fructose syrup in Italy's noodles, right? Like
everything's fresh, man. They make everything fresh.
Yeah, exactly, right? So part of it definitely processing, I'm guessing.
Part of it's the processing. Part of it is they talk about food in Italy. It's an experience. And they said that's the big difference with the Americans. Americans are on the go. They're rushing. You know, if you go to an Italian restaurant, they have like 6 piatti. They have like 6 different plates. You know, first we're going to start off with the primi piatti. We're going to have you with like whatever it is. You know, you think of the bruschetta, you're thinking.
You're going to have a meatball, then you'll have your pasta. And then
you're eating for like 2 to 3 hours first. Okay.
And drinking red wine the whole time.
Yeah. And so one is the experience of food. One is, like you just mentioned, it's the ingredients that everything is fresh. And when we switch to the whole processed food, everything being processed, like you said, it's creating what the author talks about from another expert, a nutritive mismatch, meaning your brain is actually getting confused. And so, for example, if I eat this synthetic sweet tea or something, and it says 0 calories, or something like 0 calories, but it's extremely sweet, it tricks my brain into thinking, I should be getting a ton of sugar based on what I'm sipping. Your brain is not an idiot, and it knows that it should be getting sugar. And it's like, even though you drink this 0 calorie sweet tea, it's like, okay, I still want sugar because you didn't give that to me. Where is it? And it will continue to like be racking your brain and looking for sugar. So those are some of the issues that we're facing here, like you just mentioned. And it's a lot of that processed food is the big issue. People think, the Italians walk more and all that. That's true too, but the big issue is the processed food. There's no fortified food in Italy. Okay, they don't fortify their food with B vitamins or anything like that. And we have and they use B vitamin fortification to make pigs get fat, guys. So they call it palate. They call it a palate. And so they put these B vitamins and they fortify the food. And what the farmers found is that, guess what? Pigs get extremely fat, like 40% fat rapidly. They're doing the same thing to us with these fortified foods and B vitamins, and they're putting it in the food. And that same thing is happening to us in the United States. And so that's where we're at.
That plays. That plays.
Yeah.
Super informative, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I love this stuff, as you can tell.
You'll have to come back on because I feel like we have a whole lot more to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we almost talked for about an hour, and that was like, I think, off of 3 questions you asked me: water, olive oil, and I can't remember the first one. Yeah,
we talked about the O3 for quite a while.
O3, yeah.
Yeah, which who knew? Back to tanks of the future will be made with O3.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. So everyone, you definitely need to go listen to this man's podcast. Look him up, hit him up, because a plethora of knowledge. If you have any issues or you just want to be healthier, I think Joel's your guy, guys and ladies and germs. Yeah, you hear that, germs? Joel's coming from you.
With a lot of ozone.
With a lot of ozone. All right. You want to give yourself some shout outs? Where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Where can we learn more? I appreciate you. By the way, I was just thinking as we're talking, speaking of ozone, I just came back from a trip from LA and I got food poisoning. I've never had food poisoning. And so here I am, the holistic health coach, having to use my own protocols and kind of like, wow, like I have to, like, I'm coaching other clients. I get them better from food poisoning, H. pylori, parasites, candida. I get them better from that stuff all the time. That's like normal. And here I am finally facing that myself. I was like, wow, it was kind of cool to have the tables turned on me. And I was doing some of my own protocols and I was watching them work. So I bounced back in a day and a half. Funny enough, though, they actually make ozone pills in. I have a couple friends that make specifically like an ozone gel in a pill, so you can swallow it for gut bacteria. So it was one of the things I used, but it wasn't I used a lot of herbals and some other stuff too. But I just was thinking about that as we were chatting. Where not to eat in California? It was a poke bowl place. Don't ask me where it was. It wasn't. It was yeah. I don't that think plays though. Raw fish in California heat, because you were there during a heat wave too. So I'm sure. Yeah, just a couple weeks ago. Yep. Yeah, it was hot. It was hot.
But yeah, so if you guys want to find me, I am pretty active on Instagram at Joel Evan Coaching. And then my website, I made it really simple, joelevancoaching.com. You can reach me there. And then I have the podcast, the Hacked Life podcast. I do weekly expert interviews. I'm almost there 5 days a week doing a mindset motivation talk, some Friday health hacks, and I've got a lot of other expert interviews. And so, yeah, it's a fun time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me and enlightening me, because I hope everyone else that hears this, his mind is as blown as mine, because, like, yeah, 03.
Who would have known?
Who would have known? No one knew. No one knew. I mean, somebody knew, but now you know too. Awesome, Joel. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. Everyone, go check out his podcast. It's amazing, and go watch my television show. Cheers.